Hello YouTube and welcome to episode 2 of Bringing Old School Back via Blue Eyes White Dragon, old school style. So as I said in the last episode, we were going to be talking about in this episode support cards for Blue Eyes White Dragon and cards that will help it defend itself and overcome certain things in the game as today. So as you've got Blue Eyes White Dragon, everyone knows it's a level 8 monster, 3000 attack and 2500 defense. Not a very easy monster to bring up because it requires 2 tributes, and sometimes if it's stuck on your deck it's very hard to bring out. So here are a few examples I've got so far of my basic schematic I want to use for the deck. So White Stone of Legend. You always run these cards in 3, otherwise it's just pointless anyway. And of course, White Stone of Legend is a light attribute level 1 dragon tuner. When this card is sent to the graveyard, via anyhow it's sent to the graveyard, add 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. So in other words, this is a type of rotor, to be honest. It brings this bad boy to your hand, which is all good, and plus it's the tuner, so even if you have another monster on the field, let's say you have a Masked Dragon appears out of nowhere, right? And your opponent's like, oh dear, you know, they've got an annoying card. So you go, fine, I'll then synchro those 2 for level 4. Since White Stone's gone to the graveyard, you get a, Blue Eyes White Dragon to your hand. And of course, you get to synchro. So you plus straight off the synchro that you just done. So these cards do come in handy, even though they're not sent to the graveyard via a different effect. There is ways of doing it. I mean, there's many different ways of sending it to the graveyard, of course, because you can use Card of Consonance, which basically says discard 1 dragon type tuner monster with 1000 attack points or less and to draw 2 cards. Or you could use a Foolish Burial and go Foolish, send a White Stone Legend to the graveyard to bring forth, Blue Eyes White Dragon to your hand. So that's one of the main type of engines for this deck for it to work. So these cards bring Blue Eyes to your hand. So that's really good. Alright, now Blue Eyes itself, if Blue Eyes is on the field, you've got a lot of monsters and you can't really get rid of them, and you've got those pesky cards where you think, oh for God's sake, go, get rid of these annoying cards, but they won't go. And your opponent's always trying something and they're trying to stop you attacking, like, yeah, you can't attack, you can't do this, you can't do that. Then you use Blue Eyes' own personal card, which is this Burst Stream of Destruction. Now a lot of people are saying, why the hell do you even bother playing that card, it's pathetic. Well no, because it's a Blue Eyes deck. Now of course this is a very old card that comes out of AST, which is Ancient Sanctuary. This card says you can only activate this card when there is a face up Blue Eyes on your side of the field. Destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field. Blue Eyes White Dragon cannot attack during the turn you activate this card. So in other words, it's a Raigeki in Blue Eyes form. It blows everything up. So it's like, bye bye. Which is good, because even if you can't get over their monsters, Burst Stream, activate Burst Stream, yeah, their monsters go bye bye. So that's a really good card. Sometimes they counter this card, but a lot of the times they do not see you going. Blue Eyes on the field, the opponent's got beat sticks, Burst Stream, crap. They're waiting for you to do something else. They're waiting for you to go summon, and go bottomless, they want to torrential the field, but they can't. They're like, oh, what do you do? Burst Stream? Crap. Granted, the Blue Eyes can't attack, but that Blue Eyes can't attack. So, in other words, if you had 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons on the field, and you go Burst Stream, attack for 3k, that is exactly a decent combo for the deck. Which I think, in all fairness, is a really, really good combo for the deck. So that's another idea I had. Another idea, of course, is a very favourable card of mine, is Cost Down. I used to watch in the TV series, Carb used to play this card, and it was quite interesting because the card does this. It says discard 1 card from your hand to the graveyard to downgrade all monsters in your hand by 2 levels until the end phase. This turn, this card is activated. So what I would usually do is I would either, discard a Totem Dragon, or I would discard, a White Stone, because via White Stone I'll get a plus, and I'll get Blue Eyes White Dragon to my hand, and sometimes if I discarded the Totem Dragon to the graveyard, if I ever got a Blue Eyes in my hand and everything in the graveyard was dragons, I could then special summon that card next turn and bring forth another Blue Eyes straight to the field. So, and of course, even if I had a monster on the field, I could always use this card to downgrade to a 6. Or, if I had a level 6 in my hand, that could go to a 4, so I could summon a 24 beta straight to the field. So there were so many combos by using, cost down. So that was another idea I've always come out with, because it's a very interesting card and very, very versatile. There's so many things you can discard to the graveyard as well. Another card I had in idea was, of course, Fiend Sanctuary. Now, I used to use this card quite a lot because of two reasons. One is because when this Fiend token is like a magic cylinder, because it stays on the field for for the turn you activate it, and then after that you have to pay 1,000 life points. But the reason with this card, it's a stall card, because once you special summon that Metal Fiend token, your opponent's not going to attack it, because if they attack it, their monster's attack gets redirected back to them, and they lose basically damage. So it's basically like a magic version, or spell version, of Magic Cylinder. And of course, sometimes it was easier to go activate Fiend Sanctuary, sacrifice that token because it's special summon a level 5 or 6 straight to the field. So there was really good combos with this card as well. And of course, Silent Doom. Silent Doom is a very, very powerful card, and a lot of people underestimate this card. Because I used to use this card as soon as, a certain card come out. Which, of course, was Thunder End Dragon. Now, Thunder End Dragon is a very powerful card due to the fact of what it does. So, you've got a Blue Eyes on your side of the field, and your opponent's got some annoying cards you can't get rid of. So you go, alright, one Blue Eyes on the field's good, activate Silent Doom. So you bring back another Blue Eyes, your opponent's like, oh, what's the point in that? You can't do anything with that. Well, actually, mate, yes, I can. I go Overlay. Then I go into Blue Eyes on Crack, Thunder End Dragon. So what? Detach, blow up every monster on the field, and oh dear, except this card. So it means now I've got a 3k beat stick and you've got no monsters. What are you going to do now? Crap. So they really get really cheesed off. I mean, this is another great card to use. I mean, as soon as I heard Thunder End Dragon was coming out, I thought, two normal level 8 monsters. Ooh, Blue Eyes on Crack, which is another good card. So there are a few good magic and certain monster cards, of course, but then you've got other cards that you could use as well. I mean, for instance, as I was talking about, Totem Dragon. Right, Totem Dragon is basically a level 2 dragon monster. Its effect really is, this can be treated as a 2 tribute monster, which is excellent and very good for certain combos. And of course, if it's only dragon type monsters in your graveyard, so say you've got one of those and a bunch of other dragons, you go special summon this card, sacrifice that gets removed from play, of course. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Oh, a few other cards. What do we have here? Yes. Sometimes if your hand is clogged up, you can use Hardened Arm Dragon. Because this card says you can send one level 8 high monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon this card. If you tribute summon this card through tribute summon of a level 7 or higher monster, that monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. Right. The first part of that effect is what you need, because if you've got multiple Blue Eyes in your hand and you've got Hardened Arm Dragon, you think, well, at the end of the day I need to do something. There's not really much I can do, but let's try and do something. And you have, I don't know, another level 4 in hand as well. And you think, what can I do here? So you think, crap, I need to do something. So you then go, send the Blue Eyes to the graveyard. So he goes bye-bye. To special summon your Hardened Arm Dragon. Then you would normal summon as well. So if they didn't stop the summon of the Hardened Arm Dragon, that's fine. Then you bring another one and you can, overlay there. You can keep the monsters on the field. You can do whatever with shenanigans. So that's another good card, Hardened Dragon, to use. Then of course you've got the other cards for blue eyes, like the beat sticks. You know, like Luster Dragon, of course, that come out of Magician's Force. It's a 1/9 beta, and it's also normal monster too, which is very good. And you have like Dodger Dragon, which is an interesting level for 1/9 beta as well, because this normal summon of this card cannot be negated, so you can't go Warning, you can't go Compulse, you can't really do much at all. So you cannot negate this normal summon of this card, really. And of course, this card says your opponent cannot activate counter trap cards this turn. This card is normal summoned. So in other words, you can activate other cards like Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, you know, things like that, where people use Dark Bribe, or certain other cards, you know, they can be stopped. And that's why Dodge Dragon is a very interesting and powerful card. It's very highly underestimated. A few people I know actually do use it in Chaos Dragons, which is a good aspect. Another card, of course, is Exploder Dragon. Now, Exploder Dragon, really to look at, it's not much. It's an Earth level 3 dragon, and it only has 1000 attack and 0 defense. But its effect is the interesting part. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, destroy the monster that destroyed it. When this card is attacked, any battle damage either player takes from involving this card is 0. So, in other words, you summon a huge beat stick and blow it up, you don't take no damage, and then the monster dies. So, it's a really, really good card to have. Your opponent won't initially just go ahead and storm and attack this card. So, it's like a stall card. So, if you summon an Exploded Dragon, they're not going to just run over it because their monster dies. And if it's part of one of their big, interesting combos, they don't really want to get stormed over, do they? It'd just be silly. Of course, then you have the last card is Honest. Right, I run a lot of light monsters in this deck when it's going to be finished, and you know, Honest is a very good card because you've got, you know, Blue Eyes on the field. Your opponent, if they can't get rid of Blue Eyes once it's on the field, are going to be having a bad day. And they don't know what to do, they're going to have a bad time. And they will not know how to get rid of it. So they'll like boost up their monster and then attack it. Problem is in your hand, you have Honest. And they go, attack, fine, Honest. Yeah, good game. Because this card can win games, it can lose games, but hell, Blue Eyes will increase its attack points, and you really don't have much choice to get rid of this card. This card is consecutively an interesting card to use as well. Now, a few other cards that I have are things like Megamorph and Call of the Haunted. Call of the Haunted is self-explanatory, so I won't even bother going into that. But Megamorph is a card that a lot of players may not know what it does. But it's an interesting card because if your life points are lower than your opponent's, the original attack of a monster equipped to this card is doubled. If your your life points are higher, the original attack is halved. So if you have a Blue Eyes on the field and your opponent then goes, you know, I do some damage, oh that's fine, I activate Megamorph. Why? What does Megamorph do? That makes my 3000 Blue Eyes to a 6k Blue Eyes. Yeah, they're going to think twice. And if you activate things like Heavy Storm and actually go in for game, this card can win the game a considerable amount of times. And of course, you know, if you don't need to use this card, you can always set it and use it as a bluff. So there's ways of doing that as well. And of course, for the final card that I could be using, of course, is like things like Fissure. Fissure basically says destroy one face-up monster on the field with the lowest attack on your opponent's side of field. So Fissure's a good card to use with the lowest attack. So sometimes Fissure's good, sometimes Smashing Ground is. So it's an interesting one. I could use Fissure, or I could use double Smashing Ground. So there's another episode where I'll be talking about those two cards as well. So these are just a few interesting ideas that I've come up with, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to think of some more, but initially these are a few tech ideas that are interesting that I may use. I'm not too sure on some of the ideas, but I'm going to work with it. So if you have any ideas, or any interesting cards that you think may work with my original Blue Eyes Old School deck, please comment below. And as always, please rate and subscribe. And this is Mr. Tusker Dragon signing out. And remember, only real men use water pond.